I hereby call this meeting to order. I would like to have Kathleen Stowe handle the show. Let's go.
Thank you so much, Joe. Um, it's an honor this evening to have can you admit that you have a favorite school? You can't do that as a Board of Ed member, but as a parent, Parkway has served all three of my children, and it's wonderful to have them here this evening to do the pledge with us. And then I'll turn it after the pledge, we'll do something else. So can we have the fifth graders come on out from Parkway to start off our meeting? We need help saying the pledge. Come on out, come out.
They're all in.
Okay. Okay, get in front of the microphone and then we're going to stand.
This is the uniform at Parkway.
Okay, it is, yeah. We're very traditional in that country. Okay, turn over.
And
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, guys, now I'm going to turn this over to Kate Mizaraki, who is not only the ALP teacher at Parkway, but perhaps you all remember her as one of our distinguished teachers from a couple years ago. And I'll let you
Yes.
take it from here, Kate.
Thank you. It was on this stage that I was receiving that award. It was incredible experience. Very honored to be able to have that opportunity. But really, this is where my heart is, and working with these incredible actors. You will not think they're in fifth grade, let me just say, because Shakespeare is not the easiest type of language to pick up. They're so dedicated. We worked on this for weeks, and it's very hard to pick just a few slivers from the play. But I thought it would be fun to pick from a couple of scenes. We're going to feature our witches, and that is Maddie, leader. Just raise your hand. Gigi Randall and Ryan Chass. And then we have to Ryan's right is John Wick, who plays Macbeth. And to his right is Kathleen's daughter, Mary Stowe, who plays Lady Macbeth. And then we have Oliver Bierke playing Macduff tonight. And I might add, we had multiple roles, so there were some amazing costume changes, and it was quite a production. So without further ado, we're going to give you a couple of scenes from Macbeth. So Macduff and Mary, come over here.
All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor. All hail Macbeth, thou shalt be king hereafter.
And our final scene will be from the end of the show when Macbeth is about to face his ultimate doom at the hands of Macduff.
soul is too much child blood of thine already. They are charmed like this must not be one of woman's soul. Be thy tongue that tells me so. Right, thee, you know thee, oh, you don't kiss the ground before yon falcon speak. I'll try, yet I'll try the last. Lay on, Victor, and damn thee him that both cries hold. Enough! Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth. You have lost everything. Your wife, your kingdom, and now your life.
Thank you for giving us this chance. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Mary Granville. I'm the very proud principal of Parkway School, and you're seeing such wonderful representations of our student body and of course of our wonderful staff. So thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Joe. That was a proud moment as a parent and a board member. So
Yes, I never knew you had an English daughter. Wow, very interesting.
we work on many things at home.
Okay, well, back to the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Back to the man, we have to, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, raise your hand. That is everybody. How many do we have? Six? 600. And now we have this really cool U.S. Presidential Scholar Award. Dr. Jones, is it you that's going to explain how really cool this thing is? Oh, yeah, but it's so impressive and so few people get this honor. And I know as a board member, I'm really, really proud what little contribution we make at the board level to the success of our students. It certainly makes us feel, well, certainly makes me feel good. I'll speak for myself. So I'm looking forward to hearing absolutely how cool it is.
Thank you. And I wanted to bring up the actual article where they were writing about Mbika because Mr. Mayo is not able to be here tonight because he had a family situation this week that took him out of the high school. But he had some lovely comments about Mbika. And just what a phenomenal year Mbika has had. We've already seen her once for Regeneron. And Mr. Mayo was so complimentary. And again, I'm sorry, the site keeps going down where I can't, it goes away. But Mr. Mayo actually was commenting not only on just your academic prowess and everything that you have brought to the high school, but just that you are a phenomenal person as well. And I think we can't say enough, not only for your academics, but for your character and the model that you are, not only for students who are in high school right now, and they're definitely watching you. We have 8th graders who are going into the science program now. And I can guarantee you, when you spoke at our last board meeting, you were so impressive. And to be one of, I believe it's 166 US scholars, only 2 from the state of Connecticut, Congratulations, Ambika, for everything that you represent. And you're welcome to come forward and say a few words if you would like to. We do want to congratulate you, and you make all of us so very, very proud. So congratulations.
So I don't necessarily have anything prepared, but I think I just wanted to take a moment and thank so many people at the Greenwich Public School System that have made this journey so possible. The science research program, for one, was a huge part of my journey there. So I owe so much to Mr. Andrew Bramante. If he's watching or listening, truly what he does is take people's ideas and finds people who are interested in science and really helps us turn it into something that we're able to go out and pursue our passions and do really awesome things with our work there. I also want to extend thank yous to like a bunch of teachers who I think have just been so wonderful. Mr. Ian Tiedemann, who is our advisor for the Economics Club. We recently actually had a lot of success in that team as well. Miss Karen Boyer, Mr. Jones, thinking of all the wonderful people. But really, I think what I love about being part of this school system, I've been a part of Greenwich Public Schools since kindergarten. And I'll say that the teachers and the people and the environment and the atmosphere has been so wonderful. So really so grateful to be a part of this wonderful community. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. We're all very proud of what you've done. Thank you. Great speech. Okay, now let's go to the student government comments. Mitch. Okay, of course, you're gonna miss Mitch's speech. Mitch Goldstein, the student body vice president. Come on up, Mitch. And please begin with the score of the game.
So for all those wondering, the score is currently 11-12 Ridgefield, and there's just a little under 2 minutes left on the clock. So, they're still in it. Good evening, board members and meeting attendees. I'm Mitch Goldstein, if you don't know already. I want to start by saying that I'm thrilled to announce that our seniors are now on their internships and projects, which is a defining chapter in their educational journey. These remarkable young individuals have ventured into various professional realms, ready to apply their knowledge, hone their skills, and explore their passions. The opportunity to gain hands-on experience in real-world settings not only solidifies their academic foundations, but also nurtures the spirit of innovation and adaptability within them. We applaud their dedication, perseverance, and relentlessness, and their relentless pursuit of excellence as they forge their paths towards success. Furthermore, I'm delighted to inform you that the strenuous period of advanced placement testing has successfully drawn to a close. Our students have exemplified unwavering commitment and resolute determination as they navigated the demanding curriculum and rigorous assessments. The culmination of their efforts is reflected in the countless hours of studying, the sleepless nights, and the unwavering focus they demonstrated throughout the year. Through these rigorous exams, they have not only expanded their intellectual horizons, but also gained valuable skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, and time management skills that will undoubtedly serve them well in future pursuits. Now I want to take a moment to shift the spotlight to a lighter and more joyous occasion. The tailgate event that took place on the seniors' last day of school last Friday was a lively celebration that truly encapsulated the vibrant spirit and sense of community that flourishes within our educational institution. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter, camaraderie, and an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. As our students gathered together, they revealed the culmination of their high school journey, reminiscing about cherished memories and eagerly anticipating the adventures that lie ahead. The tailgate served as a place for students to engage in spirited conversations, enjoy delicious food, and bond over their shared experiences. These moments truly encapsulate the strong sense of community that thrives within our school, leaving lasting memories for all who attended. Reflecting on my tenure as a student body representative, I cannot help but express my profound gratitude for the invaluable relationships I have built with each of you. Over the final month, I look forward to our last meeting together and to seeing you all at graduation on June 15th. Thank you all for your time, and I now pass the microphone over to Isabella Gega.
All right, Isabella. Got state championship coming up soon, don't you?
Before I begin, I do want to congratulate Mbika one more time. Mbika is in my science research class, and I love this girl with my entire heart. She never fails to put a smile on your face. So even beyond her overwhelming accomplishments, she is just such a great person. So I wish her the best of luck everywhere. So good evening, Chairman Kelly, Dr. Jones, members of the board and meeting attendees. I am Isabella Gega, the student body president at Greenwich High School. Last week, as seniors prepared to embark on the next chapter, the campus buzzed with air of anticipation. The hallways were filled with joyous seniors as their laughter and camaraderie resonated throughout the school, reminding us of the memories forged between these walls. As seniors leave, our juniors begin to enjoy their time together. They had a blasted junior prom and were eager for this Monday, anticipating the perks that come with their newfound seniority. Among these perks is junior parking. Without the seniors in the lot, juniors are now able to claim these prime parking spots, which is also a symbolic step towards their new roles on campus. On another note, Mitch and I continue to work with food services to improve Cardinal Cafe. Our monthly conversations are extremely meaningful and productive. Most recently, Chef Nico has explored cultural cuisines, which have been very well received by the students. And throughout the year, we have introduced a brand new menu featuring a wider range of healthy and delicious options, catering to the various dietary preferences and restrictions. Beyond this, we have been able to increase line efficiency, cutting down on cafeteria wait times. And as Mitch and I head towards our final days as leaders of the school, we are beyond optimistic for what the future holds. Our student government speeches and elections took place this past Tuesday, and newly elected officers are excited to start planning for the next year. We are proud to announce that Caleb Callan will be the new student body president, replacing me, even though I'm unreplaceable. And Omar Galal will be the next student body vice president. They will be introduced to the Board of Education meeting next month, and we'll speak throughout the next high school year. It is bittersweet. Can't speak today. It will be bittersweet for me and Mitch to pass the torch, but we know Caleb and Omar will continue our legacy in service to our high school community. As I mentioned, our time together has almost come to a close. As always, thank you for this opportunity and for your time here tonight. The board has always been receptive to student updates and feedback, and I look forward to our final meeting together next month.
She's really nice and a force to be reckoned with on the rugby field, I'll tell you. Holy smokes. Okay, speaking of forces to be reckoned with, let's have Lil Perone come on up for the GEA. Yes.
It's like, don't text and drive, don't text and run the board meeting. I know. That's right. That's right. Well, in honor of the win, and we had such a long board meeting last week, I'm going to be very short as my gift. So I'd like to welcome to our GPS family, our great new hires, Dr. Daniel Russo for New Lebanon, Dr. PJ Wax for Western, Mr. Mark Guerrero for Eastern Middle School, and Mr. Stephen Grosha. So we have to stop hiring Marks and Jonathans because we're starting to have too many people. Also, Ambika, I just want to say it's outstanding. So proud of you for the Presidential Scholar. Thank you for recognizing the great staff we have in Greenwich, the great administrators, and the great teaching staff that support all our students. And I probably won't be here for the Father's Day, but I want to wish our fathers, give them equal, because I wish the mothers happy Mother's Day. So happy Father's Day as well.
Thank you, Will. Now P-Tech, my new friend, Francis Nobay. We talk regularly. We're friends now, right, Francis? Can we say that? All right.
Good evening. I'm Frances Wunobe, mom of 3 GPS kids and the 2022-2023 president of the Greenwich Parent Teacher Advisory Council. To start, we saw Chair Kelly's opinion piece in the Greenwich Time, and we commend the team for the well-reasoned, factually based points made and the collegial, collaborative, and forward-looking tone. Conversely, PTAC has been surprised to find ourselves targeted in very partisan ways in various opinion pieces and social media. Let me take a moment to clarify the particulars of PTAC. Greenwich PTAC is the umbrella organization coordinating, connecting, and collaborating with the 15 public school PTAs, as well as various town bodies, including the BOE. PTAC is a 501c3, and each of the 15 public school PTAs are separate, independent 501c3 nonprofit organizations. It's the PTAs at your local neighborhood schools who deliver huge value to the schools and communities. They coordinate parent volunteers, communicate to keep families informed, raise funds to support curriculum enrichment and family events, get involved to ensure school safety, and so much more. PTAC and PTAs are nonpartisan, non-political, and we welcome all GPS families. We encourage everyone to join their local PTA. While we are nonpartisan and non-political, we do advocate, and we advocate strongly for all students, for all families, for teachers, for schools, and the best darn school buildings. Advocacy is apolitical. Advocacy is why we speak tonight, and since the founding of the PTA in 1897. As PTAC president, I hope this helps to clear up any confusion about the role, purpose, efforts of PTAC and our 15 neighborhood school PTAs. Please join me on Thursday, May 25th, 10 a.m. at Town Hall to award the 2023 PTAC Essence Award. The PTAC Essence Award recognizes an outstanding PTA member who, through exemplary achievement, has inspired others, demonstrated selfless spirit, and made a significant difference in our school community. Please join us. Turning to hot topics and tonight's agenda, 3 thoughts. Please keep up the hard work to define the strategic plan. The old adage, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, matters, and we encourage the Board of Ed and administration to continue the collaborative effort to develop a plan that we can all stand behind. Number 2, as Lil mentioned, PTAC's delighted that nearly all open principal and assistant principal vacancies have been filled before the start of the school year. Our PTAs look forward to welcoming these newcomers to our GPS community. Number 3, PTAC's ready to help in any way that we can support to get a shovel in the ground for our building projects. The annual budget process is behind us now. It's time to be forward-looking. It's time on getting what's happening? It's time to be forward-looking, and specs and sizes and designs and other particulars and logistics are completed. As we said at the beginning, we appreciate the collegial, collaborative, and forward-looking tone in the opinion piece from Chair Kelly, and we appreciate that this BOE has shown real, genuine leadership in advocating for the best school buildings for our students and for our town. In closing, as our amazing teachers do every day, and it was so great to hear Ambika mention that as well, please keep your eyes on our future right here, the students. We do this work for our kids. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. And now we get to hear from our community, community comment. We're going to start with Jackie Homan. How are you today, Jackie? Are you doing well?
Excellent. Good now, right? Now that you have the win, what could you complain about now? So good evening, Board of Education members and Dr. Jones. I'm here tonight because I want to offer free tickets to all of the board members and Dr. Jones to attend a panel discussion that's taking place in Greenwich on Sunday. The topic is near and dear to my heart. It's about social emotional learning, equity, DEI, CRT, all those acronyms that I've been speaking about frequently in these meetings. And I know there's disagreement about whether these concepts are being taught in school, but the evidence shows that these concepts are really present in Greenwich And not only in the schools, but even in the PTA has a DEI position, for instance. I think that a lot of people are confused about these topics because we use different definitions for these things. And I think that part of that confusion causes people not to pay too close attention to what's going on. And I think this is a really important issue to understand. So this panel discussion that's taking place has some really amazing speakers, including Dr. Jason Hill from DePaul University in Chicago. And he's a liberal professor of philosophy and an author of 5 books, including one on racial justice. He came from Jamaica to the US when he was 20 years old, and rather than being faced with bigotry and systemic racism, he found incredible opportunity here, and he's living the American dream. And he joins retired Air Force General Rod Bishop, who has experienced firsthand the negative effects of critical race theory and equity policies on the military. Also on the panel is a woman by the name of Shi Van Fleet. She grew up in China under Mao's Cultural Revolution and ultimately found freedom when her family moved to America in the 80s. She's very concerned right now because she sees the education system in our country right now is weaponizing our youth to become activists, using the same style tactics that the Marxists used to create division and to indoctrinate children in China when she was a child. So I really hope that you consider joining this important conversation. It's from 4 to 6 p.m. on Sunday. It's just 2 hours. It's at the Hyatt. It's open to anyone else who wishes to come. And if there are any students that are interested in coming, I'd be happy to get you tickets as well. I just think it's a really important conversation. And I hope that this is something that can bring our community together if we understand what we're each saying on both sides.
30 seconds.
So thank you so much. And I hope to see you on Sunday. And I'm going to hand you some flyers so you have the information. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. And next we have a Board of Ed alumni, Peter Shear. Come on up, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Values of openness, transparency, integrity, non-bullying, adherence and compliance with laws and policies and regulations are values of Greenwich Public Schools. The Board of Education must have policies that assure outside organizations associated with Greenwich schools also adhere to these values. Unfortunately, some PTAs are not adhering to these values. PTAs, I note, are independent organizations, and they are entitled to set their own rules of conduct as codified in their bylaws. However, the Greenwich BOE has extended to them special privileges and resources available only to them. These resources are at taxpayer expense, and they include use of town IT resources, rent-free access to public buildings, and special access to staff. Recently, the CMS Building Committee Chairman and Vice Chairman met with the CMS PTA. These public officials were acting in their official capacity. Under Town of Greenwich standards and state law, their meeting is therefore in the public. It is in the public domain. The CMS PTA has an internal rule in their independent bylaws that any meeting of their board is confidential or essentially secret. Despite having clear whistleblower rules also in their bylaws, the CMS PTA leadership retaliated against a parent who disclosed this meeting that was actually in the public domain. PTAs are critical organizations to the success of GPS. They provide many ways for parents to support schools, and they are an important part of the success of the organization. Therefore, the BOE must establish in policies rules of conduct, rules of the road, consistent with board values and laws and policies and regulations that provide clear guidance to PTAs of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Then the PTAs can decide independently, because they are independent organizations, if they want to continue to avail themselves of these special taxpayer-funded
30
resources.
seconds.
I hope you will refer this matter to the policy committee so that the events that recently occurred here at CMS are not repeated in other schools.
Thank you. Jen Behet? Behet. Sorry. You want to go together? Sure. Absolutely. I'm good with that. And Dina Urso as well.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dina Urso. Let me first start off by addressing Mr. Schur and indicating on the record that we have had a few conversations. He has my phone number. We've actually discussed some of the points that he just went over. And since apparently he wants to bring it into this forum, we just want everyone to understand that we're quite shocked by the position. We're quite shocked to hear comments that people are concerned about policy and transparency. And we'll leave it at that, but we will continue on with the prepared remarks if that's okay. So again, I'm Dina Urso and I'm here with Jen Behet. We are the co-presidents of CMS PTA, and we are here to continue to advocate for this project as we've been doing for over a year. As you're aware, the PTA is an independent organization within our school system, guided by PTAC, Connecticut PTA, and National PTA. Our views are our own and not subject to outside organizational pressures. In this case of the CMS rebuild, our advocacy has been consistent in that we have always asked that this building be built to educate students. The size and the scope of the building is for you all to figure out. We will continue to ask, however, that the focus remain on educating our children. Input from teachers and administrators who know best what a current day middle school needs is vital, and we are glad to see they have been such an integral part of the conversation. We also have consistently advocated for the project to stay on schedule, as the repairs in 2022, as we understand it, were intended to last for about 5 years. If there is delay on the front end, our concern is that the repairs may not have the lifespan to carry this building through until the end of the project. With this in mind, we ask that you all do what is necessary to stick to the timeline so that no issues arise in the future with regard to student safety while in our building. Another important timeline piece is for the June 30th deadline for you to apply for the school construction reimbursement grant. This opportunity may be missed if there's not adequate funding. We look forward to hearing from Turner Construction in the coming days and find out what the cost estimates are and whether the allotted budget will be viewed as adequate by the state. We plan on continuing our advocacy in this regard, should there be a need to, and welcome our members to voice their opinions on these topics, regardless of whether they align with ours or not.
There have been many attempts at outreach over the course of this project, some seemingly more legitimate than others. Last night, we were here for the Building Committee's second public forum. It was very informative and a great recap of areas the Building Committee has been working on since the first public forum was held in March. Many questions, however, seem better suited for this board to address, and we would like to suggest you consider having a town hall to answer questions from parents. We know scheduling's tough, but perhaps having one at the start of the next school year is a possibility. It is our sense that parents are starting to follow the project more as ideas start to take more realistic shape. A format that would allow them to ask questions and get answers from you would be beneficial and appreciated. While last night's forum was a legitimate source of outreach, we have received questions and concerns about two other not so seemingly legitimate attempts over the past few weeks. The first is a survey many received from Harry Aurora. It was written in the same format and with the same markings as emails he sent when he held political office. It, however, leaves out the fact that his wife is a voting member of the building committee. Parents of CMS and of feeder schools were confused as to whether the contents of the survey were being seriously considered as viable options. Will you clear up any confusion about this survey and say unequivocally whether the BOE is considering busing children for a school year to another location? Were the results from the survey shared with you, seeing that the BOE is the final decision maker on questions like these? These are some questions that parents have raised to us that we now bring to you and would appreciate any insight on. And finally, drop off and pick up at CMS is a sight to behold and not in a good way. Anyone who has done it knows that drivers have a lot to maneuver through. Between figuring out if you can safely make a left turn while also making sure to not run over kids who are not always aware of their surroundings. It's a double helix of chaos. To have outside adults think this is a good time to hand out flyers is confounding, to say the least. Parents have reached out to us and to you, and we appreciate the effort you made to the CMS community to ensure that our school remains a school and not a three-ring circus. In closing, we appreciate all that you've been doing to move this project along. It may seem like a thankless job now, but thousands of children will benefit from the work you do and the work that other volunteers are putting in as well. On their behalf, we thank you.
Thank you, Jen and Dina. Angie Hartophilis. Hartophilis. Oh, one of these days I'm gonna get it right, Angie. I'm sorry. Of course.
All right, good. Good to see you. All right, I got a lot to say. Here we go. Dr. Jones, Board of Ed. I'm happy to introduce you to Abby Clark, our additional Green Schools co-chair. All right, guys, I need everyone to hold on tight. Tonight, I want to share with you the massive amount of accomplishments our PTAC Green School volunteers have made this year. I'm so proud and thankful for the motivated, productive group. We set out the year with 3 goals for each chair to work on towards their respective schools. So let's see how we did. Goal 1, Zero Waste Schools Initiative. This was our team's biggest goal for the school year, and it required hundreds of volunteer hours and cooperation with the Board of Ed and Havemeyer. We held annual green team meetings at 10 elementary schools and 2 middle schools. Elementary school students diverted an average of 43% of trash by weight. New Lebanon School is nearly zero waste and a role model for all other schools in the district with a new commercial dishwasher, reusable metal trays, and an organics hauling pilot. New Leb has an 86% reduction in trash by weight. Just so cool. Okay, work with administration. We updated working with the administration, the recycling regulation 3512.1R. The donation program through Food Rescue USA has provided nearly a ton of food to the Boys and Girls Club of Stanford, Kids in Crisis, and Barbara's House. We are thankful for our collaboration with Dr. Jones, Dan Watson, Blaze, Mark Bria, school principals, custodians, lunch monitors, and more. Our community collaborators, especially Waste Free Greenwich and Julie Deschamps. I want to thank Joe Kelly for attending meetings in person to get us off the ground in the fall, Christina Downey for her support and feedback, and Cody Kittle for reaching out and engaging with us. Cody, we have buried McDonald's French fries for you at ISD, and we will invite you to come dig them up with us later in June. More on that if you're curious. Dr. Jones, your updates to the recycling regulation was really incredibly appreciated. Thank you. Goal 2, each green school rep is asked to do something for Earth Month. Big thank you to our collaboration here with the Town Conservation Commission. Here we go. Anti-idling awareness campaign, marker recycling drive, hosted Trex table, rethink waste fair. Earth Week mural created with plastic collection from the cafeteria, created pledge to nature tree, played recycling relay games, collaborations with Old Greenwich Honey and Quiet Yards Greenwich. Students planted in the school gardens participated in Greenwich Town Earth Day bingo. There were battery drives, shoe drives, old fabric drives. There were Sprouts giveaways. We raised funds to donate to local environmental organizations. Students did letter writing campaign to local and state representatives. There was Earth Month bulletin boards. We promoted the Live Like Ook Beach cleanup, packing waste-free lunches, and a meatless Monday. We promoted the Conservation Commission Town's Earth Month activity. All right, our third goal, we asked each
30
school-
seconds.
Thank you. Okay, each
Angie can talk.
we asked each school to participate and promote one green theme item each month. So we did things like National Walk and or Stroll to School Day, National Recycle Day. We hosted a Green Your Holidays public presentation. We did Halloween costume exchanges, coat and boot drives, new or newly used sports equipment swaps, book swaps, school spirit exchange wear swaps, STEM Green Project Recognition Awards, school gardens and pollinator gardens. We added new refrigerators and share tables. We want to give a quick shout out to Francis and John and Bob for their senior support in PTAC. All these accomplishments will be posted on our PTAC annual report to be posted on the PTAC website. Thank you all for your service.
Awesome. Angie, that was great. Thank you. Love the positivity. Thank you. Okay, speaking of positivity, let's roll right into the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chair Kelly. How can I follow that? That was awesome. And by the way, she is also known as the resident gardener at ISD, and you can catch her on Twitter often. So just celebrating, and just a reminder that Fiddler on the Roof is happening at the high school. There's still some tickets available. If you're wanting to go somewhere exciting, I'll be there tomorrow night. Also, we're getting ready for our end of the year. I was out in the classroom today watching little first graders, count down with their calendar, and I believe it was 21 days of school left, preparing for graduation on June 15th. And it's so funny because on a day to day, it seems like it's a really long year. And then you get to the end of the year and you're kind of blink and wonder where it all went. So we're really excited about that. I also just want to mention, I know the students commented about the interns. One of the fabulous things for the schools is that our students who went to a particular elementary that want to do an internship at the elementary where they actually went, go back to the schools and get to contribute in the classrooms. And we hope we're building some future educators, which we know we all need. And last but not least, I just want to make sure that the board and the community know, when we were building the calendar for this year, we talked about Juneteenth, and we made a commitment that we are working on that. It was our total focus at our leadership meeting this week, where we actually just talked about, we took every administrator back through the history of Juneteenth because it is such a new holiday. We wanted to make sure everybody really had a good base on the historical aspect. We did some activities with the team, and then our curriculum team is very hard at work right now developing lessons for every single grade level and in the high school all the way through. And it's really amazing some of the things that we're going to be able to offer our children, I think, from a learning standpoint about Juneteenth. So I just want you to know that work is ongoing.
Thank you. Any questions of our superintendent after her report? Seeing none, we will move on then to reports of officers, committees, and liaisons. If you see on the itinerary that we have your report to be had later on, don't make your report now. So, but if you don't see it, then make your report now. Michael, you look like you'd like to make a report.
Well, strategic plan is on the agenda. So let me just briefly mention as I mention every month now. So board members may recall that at one point last month, we had hoped to bring a resolution before the board around hosting the Research Ed Conference this time next year. However, we hit a little bit of a snag with the date, and particularly because of the High School Musical, and certainly, given the success of Fiddler on the Roof, we don't want to mess with that. So we're back at the drawing board, and hopefully we will have a resolution and a new date this time next month.
Kathleen.
Just the Greenwich Alliance is celebrating 10 years of College Dreams on Saturday, June 10th. And so they're having a party at the Teen Center, and they're selling tickets. There's going to be Kovac Brothers Band and food trucks at 6:30. So go online and buy some tickets if you're around.
Christina.
We haven't talked about the entryway in a while. There was, of course, a little more paperwork with the state, but we are out to bid. Bids are coming back on June 1st. So we are feeling very confident that the shovel will hit the ground in June and move the project along. Bids willing.
Karen.
Thanks, Joe. I just wanted to, I don't know why this sounds so loud to me, but I just wanted to say, SEAC met this year and this past week for their bi-monthly meeting and shared some information from the enrichment committee in regards to some of the workshops that they have held this year, as well as the long list of speakers that they have lined up and they're working on for next year. And if anybody wants to see some of those presentations, as well as some of the incredible resources that SEAC has worked so hard to put together this year, they can be located on SEAC's webpage, which is housed on Greenwich Public Schools main site. I believe it's under special education, but if you can't find it, let me know and we'll get that link to you. They also voted in new or thanked outgoing members, and we're discussing incoming members, as well as talking about the recommendations that they had shared at the end of last year with the Board of Education, and had an update from Dr. Heigenthaler as to where we are with some of those recommendations. And when we get down to agenda planning, I want to make sure that we have them on for our June meeting to present this year's end of the year end of the year report with some additional recommendations going forward. So that's just a little bit about SEAC, and I just wanted to, I know we have them at the next meeting, so I'll really give them their big thanks then because they deserve it. They've done a lot of work this year.
Thank you.
I should say a lot of great work.
Cody.
Karen Kowalski's not here, and she asked me to read 2 updates. So I'm going to read them, and I guess I'll be identifying as Karen for the moment. So when I say I or we, pretend I'm her. Policy committee. The policy committee met. We agreed to a policy cleanup that will clarify that officers are elected every year. There were conflicting policies, and thus it was agreed by the committee to confirm that officers are elected every year, and we will be bringing that to the board for a vote. The committee will also be bringing you a naming rights policy for large gifts by our next meeting. Additionally, state legislation has required us to make some other changes to policies that will be coming to you in the next couple of weeks. After the committee finishes our comments are the FAFSA policy, which we all hate, and a change to the policies discussing when students can opt out of high school from as young as 16 to now 18. Second, as my still me, Karen, as my liaison role to the St. Roch's Church Festival, I wanted to give a brief update here. The background work on the sprinklers is moving forward, and we have asked for a legal opinion from our town attorney as to whether we need to seek BET and RTM approval. Parks Department is now cooperating with the processing, underline italicized, of the permit for the festival. I know some of us may or may not be here next year when we have to deal with this yet again. However, I think we should consider passing a motion that allows St. Roch Church to go to the school principal for permission to use the property via policy 3515, as opposed to going to the Parks Department, because Joe S. has made a personal policy that Parks Department ignore and not engage with this particular applicant, St. Roch, when it comes to the initial and most critical stage of the process, permission to use. I will be sending you all some language to socialize such a concept so that this board will not have to relitigate this again unless and until a circumstance change that causes the need for further input from this board. In case anyone asks about policy 3515, Cody has it for reference.
Thank you, Karen, Cody, for that report. Very nice. And hearing no more, I'm going to give a quick report on the very quiet and subtle building committee at Julian Curtis. We have in this summer season, we will be installing HVAC throughout the building. We're very excited about that. We have met probably about 25, maybe 30 times so far. Maybe not that many, but we've met a lot. And we've toured the building to try to find out where we could put the elevator in. We've now narrowed it down to 2 sites. The difference in the 2 different sites is one will give us access to the basement as well, giving us the second floor, first floor, and the basement, where one is only the main floor and the second floor. So we're trying to weigh the added cost versus the advantage of having the elevator reach the basement. So we're working on that. We're also, we have designs and drawings of the brand new entryway for all those who are concerned about the new look of the entryway, because we all love the Julian Curtis building. We think it's a beautiful building. My personal opinion, the renderings make the building look nicer. And we have the 2 ramps on either side. You have nice shrubberies drawn in. And if everyone behaves themselves tonight, then we might actually bring the renderings in the next meeting. And you can see those. You can be excited about those, as I am. And then we're also looking at the opportunity of expanding the cafeteria, because that is the smallest cafeteria in all our 15 building fleet. So we want to make that a little bit bigger, but that's once again down the road. The Julian Curtis Building Committee is an ongoing building committee that will go on for some time. It was decided that we were not going to do a renovation of the total building. So what we're trying to do is a long-term phasing of this building. So that way, by the time it's all done and all the components are put into it, it's as if we did a renovation, but over time. So that's what we're doing with the JC Building Committee, run by Bill Kelly, who's doing a fine job of running that group. I have another group I'm working with, which is the Waterfall Committee, group, not committee. I don't want to say committee, right? I get in trouble for saying that sometimes. Okay. So we have the Waterfall group. We've now found a philanthropic individual who's going to give us the initial money for the design of how to redo the whole area. And then we'll work on raising some funds going forward to redo that whole waterfall area. But that's a future project, and hopefully it moves along at a nice pace. That is it for me. Oh, Mike, you have another thing.
The old Greenwich Committee. So I was.
It's an important.
So the old Greenwich Building Committee continues to rock and roll. It met twice this week. It got a lot of engineering and septic and asbestos and toxicity reports in as the committee pursues an aggressive timeline to have a design ready next month. Potentially for the board retreat meeting in a few weeks, we'll have something for the board. If not, like I said last week, last month, we might be looking at the possibility of a special meeting. So we'll see.
Thank you. Well, you know what? There's one more thing I'm going to add, not trying to get the last word in, but I'm going to start bringing it in anyway, because I don't know where to apply this. CABE organizes a board chair Zoom, which meets once every month or so, every 3 weeks, whatever it is. I sat in one today, and there was some discussions about a lot of different topics. But one came up about they were comparing the various end times to their Board of Ed meetings. And I put my hand up, and they said, they called on me, and I said, could I see a show of hands by all the other board chairs? How many of you actually have an end time to your meetings? And we are one of the only ones that do not have an end time to the meeting. So we'll discuss this in the near future. The way it works, and they explained this to me, if the issues at hand are quite important, then it takes a 2/3 vote to continue the meeting. So that's a suggestion.
Sorry,
Karen's
yes.
going to jump in if she's going to do some research.
Oh, no, I was just saying, Joe and I talked about this earlier, but this was something that the board has done in past years. So it's not a foreign concept to the Greenwich Board of Education. So we'll continue that discussion. I can get you other information.
Thank you. Now we're in the discussion item. Oh, there's another question. Laura. No, you're on the list.
Out of order.
She's so excited. We'll get you, don't you worry. All right, it's discussion item time right now. And strategic plan update. Is that you? So give it to Dr. Jones, and then you want to run the discussion? Would that be okay? Okay. Dr. Jones, the strategic plan update.
I just search. Oh, good. Thank you. We really just wanted to get this document in front of you, and it's online, just so you can see the work that's happening behind the scenes. We have our curriculum team again is just doing phenomenal work. This is the driver document we've talked a little bit about at the board, and they've gone through, they're working through every goal. And so you can see that reflected in the packet. We didn't do a big presentation because we just wanted to keep this as a simple update. And again, just thank you to all of the curriculum team, K-12, everybody's working hard on this. I also, on the very back page, what you'll see is that the site plan that our schools will do, we work on those in the summer, will also tie right back into all of those strategic goals and the metrics. And you'll see over on the right-hand side where their metrics will go. And again, every school will be slightly different because depends on their strengths, their weaknesses, where they're performing right now, and what type of growth goal they'll be setting. And I do want to give credit on this one. Certainly it's gone through some tweaking, but the first person who actually helped that was so excited to put it together was Tom Healy. And when he saw the actual strategic plan. And so then they've taken that template and continued to build on it. So just very excited about the work that we're doing. And a lot of this will really get refined over the summer months when the whole leadership team comes together as well.
Yeah, I think just to add on to what Dr. Jones was saying, I mean, the idea behind these background documents is to talk about how the strategic plan lives in the district. So like every year we have the schools put together, the SIP, the school improvement plan. And sometimes, in the history of that, sometimes they're aligned to board goals, sometimes they're not. So this is a very aligned template, just like we have this document for the whole district. Now every school will have a similar version of it that they'll present to their communities, all aligned to the goals. So I think that's fantastic, and it shows a real cascading of goals throughout the organization. The other documents are some of the how, right? So the goal document that the board approved a few months ago was the what. Nowadays, the other documents are informing a little bit more of the how, like how these goals are being approached as far as the primary and secondary drivers. Karen?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you, because one of the biggest questions that has come from parents, community members like myself for years in regards to our prior strategic plan was making sure we had, that time we were calling them SMART goals, something that we could follow along so we could see the actual movement as where we were in meeting the goals, as opposed to just trying to backfill things. So this is really fantastic. So I just had one or two questions, obviously not for now, but I'm hoping, because I know I was looking through this document and some of it is this is an internal document in many ways. And as we start rolling on moving forward on trying to meet some of these goals, I'm assuming we'll be able to narrow it down a little for forward facing. So it's just so that, members of the community that want to track our progress on our goals can understand, because there's a lot of edgy speak in there. And then I love the idea, we had talked about in committee about having the school-based improvement plans have a similar document so that they all tied together. And I think it's fantastic. And I noticed that you made sure that there were spaces that each school could modify and adjust their school improvement plan to add in their school specific topics. And I just want to make sure that we're clear with, obviously, not just our schools, but those who are reading these documents, that some of the schools may have some of these goals are elementary and middle school focused. Some of them are high school focused. And so they might look slightly different as the schools adjust them to really meet the needs of that particular school. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, because you put it in the document, but I just wanted to highlight that it's really important to know. So thank you for all the work that was put into this, because this is what we've been asking for so long. So thank you.
Tony, thank you. Kind of echoing and following on Karen's. I think because these are internal documents, I guess the question is, if I were a parent and just looking at this, I think it's, and also it is a little confusing. Just I don't know if it makes sense to kind of give an overview for people who are listening to the meeting, just using one page, of kind of one of your sub goals to just kind of explain kind of that as an illustration. I think we all understand the ones that tie into the strategic plan, but just kind of for people are listening and talking about what's the difference between a primary driver and a secondary driver and strategies. I think that would be helpful to the community, just educationally.
What you're seeing on here is when you look at a primary driver, you can see I'm just going to look at the first one, the math sub goal A. You're looking at things like our benchmark assessments, our summative assessments that are common across a grade level, across schools. And then what you see behind that is if we really want to increase, let's say, our SBAC scores, which is really the core metric that we're looking at, because that's how the state measures us. How do we make that happen? Well, when you look at the secondary driver, what you're seeing is for instance, on that first one, it has rollout of Big Ideas Math in partnership with all of the building administrators. And you'll notice on the top of that, the coordinators have the responsibility, and that's really Mike Reed, for instance, in K-8, to make sure that our administrators, like right now, we've got new ones coming in, make sure that they have all of the background knowledge before the year starts to be able to lead their staff. And then as you go down, you'll see you get to the K-8 admin, which is about almost towards the bottom. And you'll see year 1 to 3. That's the day-to-day building implementation. Are we actually out in classrooms? Are we visiting, making sure things are being implemented with fidelity? And that's part of their role. That's why they're listed there. And then you'll look at where the teachers are. Are they able to follow, pacing guides, and they're getting through the content that we would expect for the teacher to get through, so that you don't have 4 fourth grade teachers. One teacher is, or 3 are right on pace. And then all of a sudden you have one teacher who's just so far behind and kids that aren't ready in the spring because they weren't able to keep pace. So that's really the secondary driver. When you look at the long-term foundational strategies, again, you'll see some of the big ideas math. It's providing, the materials, the resources, everything that they need, because if we go back just 2 years ago, we did not have that. And as a reminder, at 11 elementaries, we had at least 3 or 4 different implementations happening. There was no consistency. Using the IXL, they've done phenomenal work in their development of IXL, which is an adaptive computer program, so that if you really want to differentiate at the highest level, a student who needs to be working beyond, student who may need some remediation, they're able to work through that. And they've tied this year during math, and it's tied to the standards as well. And there's parent resources. Our website is just amazing. Curriculum team continues to put those front-facing documents for the parent community and guardians to be able to see. The professional development, that when you look again, if you really want to have long-term success, we have to be sure our teachers are prepared and know what they need to do. So that's what you're seeing as we move right across on this template in order to meet the targets that we have on that far left-hand side. And some of them are pretty lofty targets. We're going to have to really, really work hard to get there. Does that do it?
Thank you.
Okay.
So I love this document. I love all the work that goes into the strategic plan. I would just say it needs like a legend for parents, because I don't know that, they understand in a lot of ways what tier 2, tier 3, tier 1, all those kinds of interventions and strategies are not like, what Karen said, EduSpeak. So, and, a lot of us as parents see IXL. There is not a whole lot of enthusiasm about IXL, but I'm just sort of looking at increasing the student and teacher usage of it. Is it changed at all? Or is it really just as we saw it over the years with practice?
It really is making sure that we're meeting the standard of expectation, because if you don't hit a certain amount of minutes per week, you're not going to see the growth. So why did we invest in this product that can be quite expensive if we're not going to use it and use it appropriately? And there are, we can actually connect with, there's one of our buildings that is just connects with the actual representative for the whole Northeast, and their school is kind of leading. It's actually New Lebanon is leading like in the Northeast in the amount of growth they're seeing, because they are implementing with such fidelity. And before, we might have a program and maybe somebody would log on and do it 15 minutes a week. Well, it's really not worth the investment if that's what we're going to do. And it's not like they're on it hours and hours. It's not a whole lot of minutes. And I'm sorry, I don't know exactly. I don't have that in front of me, but it's just with fidelity, making sure that we're implementing correctly.
Any thoughts? Great. Well, the strategic plan committee will continue to meet, take this feedback and things. And as Dr. Jones said, the leadership team spends a lot of the summer on this. I think the one thing I heard, which we were already thinking, is the need for, makes sense, the need for a at the school level, like a public facing narrative, and how that explains in parent speak some of the how. I think you need the EduSpeak too, for the technical side of things is for the school operation, but having both, I think, makes sense. So we'll take that all back to the committee. Thanks.
Thank you. I guess we're done with this one. Time to move on to Laura. Can you give us an update and also run the conversation after? Can I ask you to do both?
I would be thrilled.
Thank you.
So I will begin by saying the CMS Building Committee held its second community forum here at CMS last night. I see some faces who were also here last night back in the audience. Our architect, SLAM, hopefully you can hear me, presented the latest version of its draft site plan, as well as some draft floor plans and a draft building exterior. If you are so inclined, we would love to hear feedback. If you do happen to watch the recording of the event. Our architect is also currently distilling the raw data from a traffic study. It's hundreds of pages of data. And the committee is anticipating a conceptual design estimate from Turner early next week. And if it comes in above our current appropriation level from the BET, and based on information from Turner, it likely will, the BOE will need to meet and decide our next steps. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes, Joe.
Well, if I may, there's a lot coming at us real quick over the next couple of days. Can you walk us through what you anticipate to happen within the next, leading all the way up to the submission in June 30th? But I don't want to steal your thunder by mentioning that.
Well, so if we need an interim appropriation, we will have to meet and make that determination, I assume, and then request those funds of the Board of Estimate and Taxation. And if they are so inclined to give us an interim appropriation, it will then have to be voted on by the BET and the RTM. All that has to happen before a June 30th submission. And, you know, there's a lot of paperwork that will have to be signed, probably by you, probably by the chair of the building committee, probably by the superintendent, so that all of this can be submitted to the state smoothly.
So if I can add to your wonderful comment, what we're going to do is on the 24th, as you mentioned, or the evening of the 23rd, we will receive the Turner Construction's estimates. That'll be a 30-page document, 25-page document, I think they said. And we have to get really quickly to understand what that 25-page document is. We need the BET to look at it. We need the BOE to look at it. What we're going to try to do is have a combined meeting with the BET and the BOE with the Turner Construction to actually present that sheet to us and give us the breakdown on what cost we have. There's also some possibilities of value engineering if necessary, because there's materials we can make decisions on. If I know at one point, Michael, you said you wanted those diamond windows. Yes. Oh, and the gold covered, yes, of course. And we're going to maybe cut those down to something less than that, or leave it as it is. But the bottom line is we have to look at the opportunities when the number comes in. When the construction company gives us that number, we then have to identify or talk amongst ourselves. BET has to talk amongst themselves, but we all have to come together. And that we have to kind of do could be on the May 30th. So be prepared to possibly have a meeting on May 30th with the building committee, the Board of Ed, and the BET, because we have to move really quickly to get this stuff done. And then if we can get the appropriation, go through the proper channels to do so, there's a really tight schedule with the BET and the RTM to get that approved by the 30th of June, as Laura talked about. So we got a really tight schedule, and also to asking for the appropriation, or the proper word for what it's called, because it's not quite an appropriation because it's not in this calendar year, it's in a future calendar year. Then we have to get all the wording right, and we're still trying to figure out whether it's the building committee, Laura's committee, that actually goes for the appropriation or us. But we work that out with the BET and discuss that with the RTM. But there's a lot of moving parts over the next couple of weeks, so be prepared to be called on to join in some discussions.
I believe since we requested the initial funds for the building that were reduced, this would also come from the board, but I can be persuaded otherwise for sure. You know, I will make no plans so that I am at the full disposal of the building committee and the board so that we can get this done. If there's no other questions, oh, go ahead.
No, I want to clarify because we had a conversation about this, just because people who are listening are paying attention. Because the amount we've already have appropriated is 67.5 million. And whatever number comes in from the cost estimate, we have to have an appropriation of that amount in order to go make our application to the state. Like it has to be to the penny, or like, do you have enough information, or it just has to be that number?
As far as I know, you need an adequate appropriation for the project.
Thanks.
Yes, Dr. Mercanti. Yeah.
Right, so I'm just assuming based on the precedent, of what we did last year with the high school, since when the high school, when we had to reappropriate more money for that, that was a Board of Ed vote, so it seems to make sense that it would probably come back to us, because it was the same process we did last year.
Don't make any plans.
Where, so the ed specs, right? So the revised ed specs based on the meeting we did last time. I know we got them this week, and then we got a little bit of a tweak to them. Are they somewhere? I know they're not in board docs, so are they online somewhere for the public?
They have not been finalized yet. There's a lot of edits that are currently in process. Thank you, Ms. Hirsch, for your diligent work on also taking a look at those.
So yeah, so that concerns me, right? So what's I don't know if you can, someone can update. So what's yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, just some of the things I found were minor, missing periods and things that were not removed from the prior iteration, such as the fact that we deleted the makerspace. It was still noted. It wasn't in the matrix, but it was just noted in discussion. So it shouldn't concern you in that way, because it's little nits, but if we approve the document, it should be exactly what it is. And I'm also one of those people that likes to make sure that, it's that our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. So I went through with a little fine tooth comb on that. So that's the kind of stuff. Happy to share my notes with you if you'd like.
CSG did make the corrections that I had emailed about. There were about 15 of them. So Karen is our second backstop. There have been others who have also been very helpful in this process. So thank you. If there's nothing else, I just do want to loop back to an issue raised by Ms. Behet about the survey that was sent to some of our families, which did cause some confusion. There was no knowledge or involvement with Mr. Aurora's survey. On the matter of the
By the board.
By the board, yes. On the matter of the CMS PTA exec board meeting with two members of the building committee, I just do want to read in part from the legal opinion of the assistant town attorney, because I know that some of our volunteers have been very anxious about this particular topic. Quote from Ms. Ahmad, the assistant town attorney: "It is my understanding that the meeting was that of the PTA exec board. The initial analysis of the law department was that the FOIA posting requirement was not violated by virtue of the chair and vice chair attending the PTA executive board meeting. This was later confirmed by a Connecticut FOIC representative." So there was no violation of our freedom of information practices by the building committee or the PTA.
Thank
That's
you,
all.
Laura, for that report and well-run, a very well-run discussion. So thank you for that. And now we go to Western. Now, Tony, I guess that's you going to bring us up to speed on Western. Some exciting things going on there. We're moving forward, right?
Yes. We are still making progress at Western. We've been in front of the planning and zoning. We just, the last couple of days, got back the letter that had the comments from planning and zoning. They're working on answering some of those or special requests, like, they want to see more of the trees and what we're going to be doing for the trees, and the lighting, the sidewalk pathways, things of that nature. Nothing really major, but again, they've got to respond to that. The AECom has managed the qualification process for the companies that will be actually bidding on the project. They are using the same process that was utilized for the GHS campus. And very detailed rubrics are provided. And again, they pre-qualified some companies. Letters will be going out this week. We expect in the next 2 to 3 weeks, all the bid documents will go out. And we'll wait and see what that response is. I would say, just to set people's, tone, the day school gets out, you're not going to see a shovel in the ground. We're working there, but we should be there at some point in the summer or right before school starts. And it just really depends on. They did some resubmission to the state at the state level, and that is because they're actually working really well with the school district. And in some areas where we were having to go down several feet, they've been able to lift that a little bit, which is good because it means, number one, the project timeline will be a little faster because you're not removing as much dirt, as well as it will help a little bit with the cost to not remove quite as much dirt. So they wanted to do a resubmission, and we all agreed take an extra couple of weeks to be able to have a faster timeline overall, and cost savings was worth it to resubmit.
Just to be clear on what I had discussions with Margarita, our wonderful head of planning and zoning, Margarita, who told us that when we came before her for our applications, what she did is granted partial to move forward on the remediation, but she said our application was incomplete as far as trees and landscaping. There was some minor confusion about whether we had to evaluate whether we needed to continue, whether we can go forward with our turf plan or whether we had to examine an opportunity for grass. The conversation I had with her, she had said that must have been a little confusion between her and our group submitting, where she didn't need that application to be done for grass, just some minor incomplete designs on the landscaping. Is that where, so we're going forward on the remediation. Planning and zoning is allowing us, they've broken it up, and planning and zoning is allowing us to go forward on the remediation, and they just want further work done on the design.
That is correct. We still do have to answer some questions that were sent as part of that letter about turf versus grass, but I think it's clearer now than it was.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions on Western? Doing good. All right, then we'll move on to Blaze. Blaze, are you with us?
Hello,
Monthly
yeah, yes,
financial
Mr.
report.
Chair, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I apologize. I'm in the car, but I'm here and I'm not driving. So, right now, the monthly report, the financial report, this is a very challenging time of year right now. I do want to thank all of our principals and members of the administration who have been working closely with finance. We've been kind of jointly going on this effort. We froze the district on March 20th. Primarily, I won't repeat all the drivers. That everyone here knows what they are. They're the same 4 drivers, and they're in the report that you might expect. But everyone kind of came together, went through all their accounts, went through the negatives. We've done a lot of account cleanup. It's been a huge lift. Just cleaning things up. So we're in hoping that we're in a fairly good condition. Revenue is stronger than expected in a number of areas, and primarily that's going to be, as we all know, in our special ed excess cost grant that we went for the interim for. It actually should be a little bit over the value we went for the interim for, somewhere between 1.3 and 1.5 million, thanks to the efforts of Dr. H. Summer school revenue is expected. One pressure that we see for fiscal year 24 is that summer school revenue is likely to be significantly less than prior years due to some program design changes through fewer students taking the academic enrichment programs in summer because they're getting those services during the school year. So that'll impact the revenue of that program. The expenditure report, you can see we are running, our current projection is showing less than a 1% variance from budget. So we're threading what that means is that we're basically threading a very thin treading some thin water right now. It's going to be tight, but I think we're going to be okay based on where we're at and the good team effort that we've had. The one thing I want to be very clear about is that we would be in very tight financial condition if it wasn't for the transportation savings on the contract. Anne and Elmer did an excellent job in tracking penalties in the beginning of the year and assessing those against the company, which were significant savings over almost $1 million. And also they both worked together to assess the line, the transit routes, and had implemented some operational efficiencies, which brought in almost $200,000 to $300,000 in savings. That is largely carrying the district. That 1% variance is basically about 1.3 million. So that's carrying the district as well as getting that interim. That was essential. Capital, Dan's team is doing a great job right now. They're preparing for the summer capital push. So they're working with our purchasing department to execute a significant number of contracts. Grants, we're working with all of our grant managers. You will see, Joe, I know you're watching this very closely as we are and ask me about it every month, which is a great question. Will we get the money spent? And I know Mark's on this call. Mark's here, Ann's here, Dr. H is here, Tony. We've been all working together and have a good execution plan. You can see just a month-to-month decrease of $312,000. And we also have a number of salaries that are executed on those grants. So that funding is essential and it will get spent. The school lunch program has a healthy fund balance as a result of both the continued universal lunch program and the cash in lieu of commodities. The CLOC grant is a federal program that we're benefiting from the high levels of participation. It's based on levels of participation. Originally, we anticipated $150,000. And we will likely end up over $500,000, even somewhere near 700,000. And so that's essential to help carry that school lunch fund, which, remember, in fiscal year 24, which is already basically time to start talking about it, unfortunately. But in fiscal year 25, we're actually already working on developing the budget. But in fiscal year 24, remember, there's no contribution coming from the general fund to the school lunch fund. So this extra cash is important for the school lunch fund. Also, capital was moved by the town for the school lunch fund from the general fund to the school lunch fund. So that's just something to note. And we're working very closely with SESS, monitoring our exposure for special education. And that interim of 1.1 million was essential to cover required expenses. That's an overview of our financial condition. I'll take any questions.
I'll start with a question. How much of the grant money will we be giving back?
I can't answer the exact dollar amount yet, but the goal is to have those grants all well over 90% execution rates.
Questions? Karen?
Hello, Blaze. I don't think this is necessarily for you. It's probably more for Tony, but I know I had sent an email asking because there were some projects that we were using our ESSER 3 and ARP funds for, and they're noted in here, most of which we get in updates as to how that's being used across other topics that come here. But there are a few things such as, for instance, the money we were using for the redesign of the GHS Student Center that we just haven't heard about in a while. So I'd love to, even if it's not tonight, because I know Mr. Mayo is not here, Principal Mayo, but I'd love to be able to put that on at some point to talk about, since we're getting towards the end of the year and we want to make sure we leave not a penny left on the table. We want to use all that, and would love to hear how that's being used to benefit our students. So if that's possible, there's a couple of other ones in here that we don't hear much about, so it would be helpful.
Yeah, we're happy to update you on those. Everything is on order. The biggest issue with that one is it's mainly a lot of furniture. and it's getting the shipping. And so we're literally waiting. But it's all on order. The other big project that has a bigger dollar amount is work we're doing at Community Connections in that building. They've been doing the architect is with us. They've done the designs. They're working on that to be able to go forward this summer for all the enhancements that will happen in that building. Those are the two big ones, but certainly I'm happy to prepare some information for the next meeting.
That would be fantastic. I think it'd be really beneficial for everybody to see how those how that money is being used to benefit our students. It goes right back to them.
Anybody else? Blaze, one more question. You talk about the spending freeze. When I gave you that check for $600 for the bathroom at the stadium, the use for the youth football, did that help with the freeze?
You know, it got us that much farther, Joe. Hopefully it gave you confidence that you know that your finance team is on it. So
Yes, I was very happy and impressed that I got a bill. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Nothing more on this. Thank you, Blaze. Let's go to Dr. Jones with the school calendar first read.
So this calendar is basically looking a lot like next year's calendar, where we do have the conferences that are built in. It still says K-8 on here because it'll be like next year. If K-8 goes really well, we're going to be working on the high school solution. So that we'll be coming to you again, or those of you that don't run again will be coming to somebody. But again, this calendar mirror is very similar. We are out, obviously, on that 5th, for November 5th. That's going to be a big election day. And we don't want to be in school or be doing professional development. So one question a couple of you have asked are, why are there all these little footnotes down at the bottom? And that's not normally down there. And that was really trying to be responsive to a conversation the chair and I had about some of our holidays this year, where there was some miscommunication in that we've traditionally in Greenwich, for going back as far as I can find documents, there's a letter that goes out to all of the administrators at the beginning of the year that talks about the religious holidays and lets people know what the dates are, reminds them that we should not be having like athletic, we shouldn't have a musical that night. We shouldn't have an actual athletic event. They still do some practices and things of that nature that happen right after school. This is just kind of calling those out. Again, the other thing that's on here is reminding people about the Thanksgiving holiday, winter break, February break, that we don't assign, okay, over winter break, we want you to complete XYZ, and that's in our policy and regulations. Those were added on here just for clarity, because it did get confusing this year. And we have a lot of, new administrators as people retire and move on. And especially like in athletics, Gus was here for a very long time and probably knew, the back of his hand. He didn't have to look at the document. So.
Thank you, Karen.
Now, I just know, just to point out, I had been emailing with Dr. Jones because I saw that footnote, and we were reviewing and looking over some of the regulations, and I know some of the wording will be, I think we were discussing revising that, because just to point out for those who do have students at the advanced levels, ALP, sometimes AP, definitely the students do tend to get work that they must complete over certain school breaks. And I know we were talking about not just for athletics, but other academic competitions or arts, programming and events as well, not to be scheduled on those holidays. So just want to make sure that that wording is matches what's in our regulation. So if anybody reaches out, because I know I'd had some questions, that is being discussed and clarified.
Christina.
Hey, I want to talk about the conference. I know, like, for next year, we kind of, not to call it retrofitting, but we were sort of figuring out how to make sense for the second elementary conference and for the middle school conference, right? So we put it in March, but just query whether having the middle school conferences in March feels a little late. I think it's food for thought before we vote on this next month. And maybe the principals will give feedback. I don't know. It seems to me that waiting till March for the secondary conferences, it feels very late in the year. So that's just a comment that maybe we might want to rethink about that.
It is tricky because of when we have our breaks here, because when we went out and started looking at other schools, middle school conferences are done in most districts. We just haven't done them here. But they don't fall as early as our elementary because you don't really know the kids. And so we're trying to make it work in March where it's as least disruptive. But the other thing, which you won't know until we really go through it the first year, but from the K-5 parents, they loved March because the teachers really knew their kids and they found it very, very helpful in being able to think about the next year and the following year, and it gave them an opportunity. So that middle school, I could see, especially for advanced courses, students who are in intervention and you really want to talk about it, it might actually really work for middle school too.
I think it's just the kind of thing that maybe after going through it once and seeing what makes sense, because, and maybe middle school's different, maybe the high school shouldn't be that late in the year, because if you're in APs or anything, it's like it's kind of so far, and they've already picked courses by March at the high school. Like maybe midterm, January might be a better time at the high school. It just kind of just food for thought.
Okay. Oh,
Sorry.
Kathleen?
Just real fast, because this is so fascinating to me. So can you just give me a sense of what the middle school conferences are going to be like, since we've never had such a thing?
There are many different models that are utilized, and that's part of the discussion we'll be having with, especially having 2 out of 3 brand new principals. And I'm sure some of them have experience where they, like Stanford does them, for instance. But there's districts all over the place. Sometimes it is literally a sign up and the parents decide which teachers that they really want to go and see. They're still short like they are in elementary. There are places where they'll have like content teams in a very large area. If you want to go see the English teachers, you literally go and they're at a big long table and enough space where you don't hear one another. But there's a zillion different ways to do them, and we're discussing what is the best way for Greenwich.
Michael.
Just because my son is in kindergarten, I can tell you that I just assumed there was middle school conferences. I've never not having in all honesty, because I have young kids and worked in other districts. I've never been in a district that didn't have middle school conferences. In fact, I've never been in a district that didn't have high school conferences. Of course we have high school conferences.
Oh my gosh, we got to bring that.
So that is something that's something, let's get this on the road. But yeah, it is something that is standard in much of the country.
Karen.
Well, I will note just on that topic, I understand it's different here. It's not different here because of this, but it makes it harder at the middle and the high school because students move from class to class. They have so many different teachers. And I will say, as a parent who has had 2 students go through middle and one fully through high school and one almost there, I guess. Anytime we've ever reached out, and so I guess oftentimes we hadn't thought about doing conferences here because our teachers are so responsive. Anytime I've ever reached out with a question or asked if I could speak with a teacher, they've always been responsive and offered to sit down or speak. And by the time the kids get to high school, oftentimes they're supposed to be learning to advocate for themselves, but oftentimes they still would want to talk to a parent, and they've always been really responsive. So I can just say that on behalf of as to why we haven't done them maybe in the past. It's not a bad idea, but I just want to give a shout out to our teachers who are really responsive when it comes to these things.
Okay, looks like it's time to move on. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the action items. Okay, preschool curriculum recommendations. Karen Hirsch is going to take over this discussion.
Just to get the item on the table before we have our presenters come up, I'd like to make a motion that the board accept the curriculum committee's recommendation to adopt the creative curriculum as the curriculum to be used across the GPS preschool program. Do I have a second? Okay. Well, we're not approving it yet. We're just putting it on the table. And then I'm going to turn this over to our fantastic presenters, Dr. Heigenthaler and Mr. Baines. Welcome to GPS.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Heigenthaler's been here, but I mean Mr.
So we posted, it was the same presentation as last time, going over the benefits, the different programs that we have looked at. the process and why we had chosen. We didn't bring the books with us this time, so I'm sorry, we don't have the show and tell. We don't have the visuals. But we're here to answer any additional questions that anybody might have about the program.
Yep.
Then I'll call on Christina, so since Dr. Mercanti Anthony is so kind to point out she was first.
You know, it's like a game show.
I was about to say, it's like
First hand up,
preschool.
first
You know,
hand-
he who goes first.
Thanks, Dr. Stacy. Just one question. And I did look at it all last month and didn't watch the video again. Just how are we gonna integrate this for our parent education on what tools they'll have to be able to access it? Like, do we have a plan about how we're gonna manage? Because this is like a change in, people have said, oh, my kids went to the did the preschool. They don't really know and understand what we're gonna be changing to. If you could just kind of elaborate on that.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So so part of this is rolling out is as we have parents who come in next year, we'll be, sorry, that may,
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, okay, can you hear? Okay, so we'll start with the informing the parents next year and letting them know about the curriculum. Part of what we've looked at is the professional development and really understanding that parent piece, because there's a huge engagement piece that I'm going to let Joe talk a little bit about, but that's going to be huge in rolling it out to parents, because it's not just what we're doing in the classroom, it's how it connects with the students at home. Want to talk a little bit about that?
Yep, and this was a major part of the vetting process for the curriculum. We really wanted to make sure that the parent engagement was not only wealthy, and there was a lot of it, but it was realistic to be able to reach the parents. So not only is there an ebook library with digital books, but there's also activities, games to print out at home. Opportunities for exploration at home. And tentatively, we know that as part of our tentative training, if this was approved, the company is going to work with us to how we can engage family in the engagement and assess what they need, individual families need. So that's something that they're going to work with us as well in the training.
Dr. Mercanti Anthony.
So thanks. So there was, we talked, a couple emails back and forth this week to talk about the ebook side of things, which, so at the very end of the presentation, there's a third video, where the presenter talks about the ebooks and things, and I mentioned on email, and hoping we could talk a little bit about was concern there around screen time. And I'm really worried about sending the wrong messages or hurting parents' ability to limit screen time, especially when we're talking about 3 and 4-year-olds. Where the pediatric recommendations are no more than an hour in a day and on all that stuff. So I guess I wondered if we could talk a little bit about that. And if that's, even if that's a necessary component of the program.
Yeah, that's definitely a valid concern, and that's why we were so thrilled with the parent engagement options, because there are so many of them. So the ebooks are only one component of those, and actually about 90-95% of them are printable to be able to bring home. So screen time is definitely not the only option for parent engagement.
Are we, is that something that we have the ability or we can think about as far as providing? Because I guess the telling a family that we can print out the book, that they can print out the book, but here's the link, and putting that in certain families' hands, particularly given the challenges, many of the, for time and everything else. I mean, it's not easy, with pre-K parents, particularly with the special ed population. So I don't know what we could do here. Yeah.
Well, I think that goes back to what we were talking about, looking at how do we individualize and really do targeted parent engagement. So it's not a one size fits all. There's multiple things. And I think that's looking at what are the appropriate materials for a particular student to be using at home. I think for some families, you're going on a trip, right? Being able to look at the book on the screen in the car might be a good idea. Instead of a paper that can get thrown someplace. But for a lot of the other things, it's the engagement, it's the connection between the parent and the student. So it's not just about having the access to those books. It's really promoting parent and child engagement in the learning. And I think that's really where we're focused on. This is, just another tool that's available. I think you have a valid point, and we're not promoting more screen time, but it's there if parents do choose to use it. What we're focused on is how are we promoting that parent child engagement, and how are they working together and exploring that environment for our 3 and 4 year olds.
And the ebooks are not, it's not limited to that. Each unit starts with a family letter that goes home that provides, here's what we're going to be studying, and here's ideas and activities that you could do at home to enhance the learning at school and at home. So there's also other options as well. Yep.
So I just had a preschooler who's now in kindergarten. So my question is very sort of base level. Other than for distance learning, the kids never brought home an iPad in pre-K. Are we now sending home iPads every day with the kids? So how does the ebooks and the connection with families, how are they accessing this if they're not on an iPad that the school provides?
Yeah, and I think that's where it's important to individualize what we're doing. So making sure, tentatively, like I said, we're going to be working with the company to be able to assess what families need and how we can provide, learning for all at home. That's definitely going to be a major component and important to assess with each family.
And it's also going to come from the teacher. So part of the parent engagement piece is attached to the units. So when information about the units goes home, that's the teacher putting together saying, here are a bunch of options that you can be doing at home. So again, we're not promoting like, here's a digital book we want your child to read. There's no requirement that they have to do this. These are all just things that you can do with your child at home. And so, being able to send home some of the printed materials. And so it's really that teacher who's putting together those packets and sending it home. It's not parent, here's a link, go find this information. It's really that. And that's part of the professional development that we're looking at with our teachers. So it's not just learning how to use the program, it's how to use that parent engagement piece and put together those materials for those parents.
Well, just as an aside, I know, having done a little research, shocking, I know, there are not a lot of preschool programs out there to even look through or to look at. And the fact that, we haven't had a unified program across our preschools here as of yet. So this is a first step. I think it's actually, our curriculum committee did an incredible job vetting all the programs and coming up with this and looking into the things that they felt were really important. It would be the most supportive to our educators and supportive to the families at home. I think is, Dr. Heigl. Okay, so somebody said I mispronounced it. So I'm just going to go with Dr. H. So anyway, I lost my train of thought, but anyway, the point is we're not sending home homework. These are ways, one of the biggest parts of our strategic plan, I think, is FACE, family and community engagement. And this is what we're talking about, is making sure the parents feel involved. We often hear from parents, how can I bring this learning home? What can I do at home to support what you're doing in schools? And I think that this program, while it may not be perfect, is a great start. And it's a great way for us to lead and figure out how to best work with it. It ties into our kindergarten program as well. So the students will be kindergarten ready by the time they leave our preschool program. And yes, screen time is always an issue at that age, but a lot of this is for parents to share, one-on-one conversations with, I think, their students, their kids at home, opportunity to use play for education and engagement and as well as reading and so forth. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you. If my child, not say I had one that age, I don't, but if I had one that age and that child went to, say, Candyland pre-K school, didn't go to our school system, and saw this or see this as an opportunity to get educated on what our kids in our school system are studying. Would somebody who goes to Candyland pre-K be able to access this information somehow? Or this curriculum so they can, even though they're not within our system, they can say, hey, look at the other kids in the Greenwich Public School pre-K are doing what we're talking about now. Is there a way that kids outside that can access this?
No, not really. So, I mean, this would be what our teachers are teaching in the classroom. What I do want to share is that like family centers, our school readiness, this is also the program that they use. So it is, so while Candyland might not, but right next door, Chutes and Ladders does use it. And so, the students are coming with that same skill set and that same knowledge base, which I think is really nice as we're feeding into kindergarten.
Thank you.
Dr. It's really hard to call on people while I'm taking minutes, so I'm so sorry.
I
Dr.
appreciate your,
McAnthony, Anthony.
Yeah, so it's fine. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the program's great, and I'm so glad that and I think it's great that we have a aligned pre-K program. That's I think terrific, particularly since this is a growing population, as we know, for us as a district. I guess the two cautions or concerns I have when I think about implementation. One is, just to the screen time thing, fine. It's a tool for parents. I'd love if we sent home books, hard, copy, consumable books with kids instead, in all honesty. And I think that's something we just need to continue to think about. The book baggies, a lot of districts do that. It's great. And inexpensive. And that could be something, hey, that's a lot easier for a parent to grab and use than going online. But second of all, the other thing to think about, we know this is a play-based curriculum. Obviously, that has a wonderful and appropriate role in pre-K specifically. I just caution us in implementation. Obviously in pre-K, we have the reason for the program is the students that are mandated for pre-K that obviously have explicit instruction needs on their IEPs and things. And we just need to make sure that in the implementation of the play-based curriculum, we don't lose sight of the important explicit instruction, obviously, that needs to be at the heart of the program.
And the nice thing about this program is that it does provide some explicit instruction for the teacher to be able to provide. The benefit was that when you have a new teacher, it's more explicit, but you have a more experienced teacher can kind of veer off from that. But then to build on that, that's why we also have the pre-K foundations in the pre-K and at HAMAB, the Haggerty as well, so that we're addressing that, yes, we want pre-K to be pre-K. We're not trying to create kindergarten, but we are trying to create kindergarten ready students and finding that balance.
I would like to call the question.
Okay, well, since we've had it seconded, all in favor? Okay, I don't have to ask anything else because it's 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Joe. Thank you, Karen. Well done. Well organized. Taking notes and running the conversation. Well done. And now if we can go back in time a little bit and then have Kathleen take over this discussion, how exciting this will be. Old time's sake, go for it.
Sure. I was given this because I think I can speak as quickly as Angie Hertofelis. Turns out I think we're from the same area, which is probably why we can do it. That's how we roll in New York. So here we go. So required vote for participation in healthy food option. This vote is required for, I'm going to read the motion in a second, required for all Board of Eds that participate in the National Service Lunch Program. Each Board of Ed must vote yes or no to participate in the healthy food option of CGS section 10-215F and follow the Connecticut nutrition standards. So we're going to do two votes. Here's the first motion. I'd like to make a motion pursuant to CGS section 10-215F. The Greenwich Board of Education certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups. Can I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Oh, sorry, discussion. Okay, anyone want to talk about this? Okay, great. All in favor? Yes. Yes, just, yeah. We did it last year. Go ahead. You want to? That's fine. Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 7, 6. Okay, all opposed? 1. What? No, 1 vote? Doesn't matter. What? Okay, fine. That's ridiculous.
I'd like to change my vote.
Okay, can we play? Okay, all in favor? Okay, that passes 7-0. Okay, we're gonna do this. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, next. Require language for option to combine food.
Let's hold on for a second. I want to
Oh, boy.
understand that. Can you please explain that, Ann? Well, complying is a passing of a motion. It's a
Yeah.
majority.
Really?
I'd love to see that language.
All right,
I'm
well,
going to be
Cody,
Mr. Kittle
yeah.
for
You
a
can
moment.
vote any way
I'm
you want,
identifying
but
as
you have
Mr.
to vote
Kittle, but
yes.
I'm a little concerned about
I'm
that.
kind of with you on this one, Cody, but let's just stick with it for the
That's
sake.
why, that's exactly why I would vote no.
I know, I
Principle
know.
of the matter.
I know. I feel like we should do this.
Just don't give free money back.
I know. That's the only reason, but okay, let's go to vote 2. This is required language for option to combine food and beverage exemptions. Board of Ed, the vote yes to participate in the healthy food option may choose to combine the 2 separate food and beverage exemptions into one motion by using the exact motion language below. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, ready. The second motion is the Greenwich Board of Education will allow the sale of to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sales in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sales at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, an extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate teams meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the food and beverage sales. Can I have a second?
I want you
Okay.
to read it again.
All discussion, please no.
Can we abstain from this? one?
No, just go with it.
Yeah, because abstain's not a no.
Oh, Lord. Why do you give them options? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Oh, seriously. All right. All opposed? All abstaining? That passes 6-0-1. Thank you so much. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Kathleen. That was very nice. Now for the final action item, is the, BOE meeting agenda plan. I would like to make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Board of Education meeting agenda plan as presented. Do I have a seconder? Karen will be seconding it. Discussion. Christina.
It's not really a discussion, it's a question. Tony, just, I meant to mention this before and I apologize. There is, we have your goals as a first read, second read, but we have our goals with the first read, but no second. Yeah, like it's kind of, no, but the board, there's like, I just thought it got a little convoluted because we have the first read for board and super goals in September. And then we have super goals, just a second read on information.
It just says info. It doesn't even say action.
Yeah,
That
which
was my
doesn't
que-
make sense.
That
to
was
have
my question.
sections, Yeah, but then the board goal vote is
Ours is
pushed off.
October 5th. It has.
Yeah,
it,
which
is
seems a
like month
little
later.
funky to wait a month. So I just kind of, that was the one thing. Any thought? It may have just been one of those things, but
Yeah, September 21st should be action on superintendent goals for sure. When I went back through my notes, it was kind of confusing because the board did debate, are we going to do them or not do them because of the election? So certainly I can move those right back with the superintendents on September 21st. If we want to reaffirm the board goals the same night.
Well,
Karen,
while you're doing that, I was just going to say thank you for adding the added board retreat for professional development in December. I think that's exceptionally important. It was part of the board goals that we've now seen like multiple times. So thank you.
I might just add one question that I was asked, is why is it on a Wednesday? And we don't have as many school events on a Wednesday night. And I just don't, not knowing who's going to be elected, if they happen to have children or in athletics or any of that, it's just harder when we always pick Tuesday or Thursdays. So yeah, well, it's early enough, I think. No,
My assumption is worst case scenario, if we
we'll
have to
cancel.
revise. No, well,
Yeah.
we can, do a special meeting if we have to change the date.
okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. That looks like we're unanimous. 7-0.
As, what, we're going to make do we have to modify them for those little changes? Or as discussed?
We've just passed it as is. If you want to, we can unpass it if you like.
Do you want to withdraw the motion? I know we voted. We can withdraw and then just rephrase it.
Well, I'm going to call you the expert and say, let's do that and have Christina.
Or I'll make a motion to amend. Or
Christina will make a motion to
a
amend.
motion to amend the 23-24 Board of Agenda meeting agenda plan to have both superintendent goals and the board goals be in action items on September 21st, 2023.
I will second that. And all in favor, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. 7-0-0. Okay, that is the end of the action items. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the action tonight. And now we're going to go to the agenda plan discussion. Karen.
I had a request and I will put that forward from SEAC. They're listed for Wednesday, June 14th as on the business section. Just to hand in their written report, their annual report. And they have requested if they could speak, be added, to speak. It could just be as info. There's nothing for us to vote or approve, but they've done a lot of work. They've done incredible amounts of moving things forward. And I'd love to be able to give them the opportunity to share some of that with us.
And that is what happened the last 2 years. Traditionally they've presented.
So you want that to be added to the June 14th?
Well, it's on there as written. I'm asking if we could move that to info and see if they can just short presentation.
Michael.
That said, unless Tony, you're thinking something I'm not clear that we need the action item for the strategic plan on June 14th. Because I'm not sure what that would be.
I'm not sure either. I think it just didn't get taken off.
Okay, anybody else? Christina, you look interested.
And we also talked about a potential action item for June 1st after the superintendent's evaluation for a contract extension as an action item, not an informational.
Okay, anybody else? Then I will ask to see if Laura possibly has a motion to make.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, unanimous. We're out of here. Thank you, everyone, for coming.